Hi guys, my name is Trinity, and if you are here, you must be here to talk about books. Today, we will be discussing the books that are on my personal TBR for the spooky season. Does this mean I'm going to read all of these books? No. Does this mean that these are the only books on my TBR? No. There's my TBR cart right there. However, spooky season is rolling around the corner, and I wanted to give you guys a look at the spooky books that I have on my current TBR. That way, if you wanted to join along in reading them with me, you can. I have broken up my TBR into sections for the purpose of this video, but I am going to be talking about horror, mystery, thriller, some YA that has the spooky vibes, books about witches, and generally things like that. First, I have some books that I picked up based on my friend's recommendations, and they are all three indie pub, I believe, or self-pub. And so I wanted to talk about them first. You may have seen me haul these already. But Pen Pal by Dathan Auerbach. Now, this is a horror that is told via letters. Someone is discovering the events that occurred in their past via reading old letters that they've found and piecing together some things that might have been a little shadier than first thought. I am very much looking forward to this and seeing if it is as creepy as everyone says it is. But the final line on the back of this is, each chapter completes a different piece of the puzzle for both you and the narrator, and by the end of it all, you will wish that you could forget what you never knew. So I'm looking forward to this. Now, one that my friend Andrew has talked me into, but that I've seen about 1 million times on Leslie's channel, is the Nightmareland novellas. This is Nightfall, the first of them, by Daniel Barnett. They are short, and I'm looking forward to getting into this because I have not heard anything bad about these, and I know if Leslie likes it, there's a strong chance of me liking it as well. And so I'm looking forward to getting into the first one. I will probably pick up the follow-up novellas after this. I can only imagine because, like I said, me and Leslie have very similar tastes. And then the next one is Hollow Road by Dan Fitzgerald. Now, Dan Fitzgerald is a sweetheart. Follow him on Twitter, and he does a lot of self-promotion and promotion for self-pub. And so I'm looking forward to this. This is about monsters who used to be in existence coming back to life and people finding out that these things are real. That's the gist of what I know about this book, but that's kind of all I want to know because anything else is going to lead me in a different direction, and I want to explore alongside our narrator in this novel. So like I said, that's all I want to know about this book, but I do think that it's going to be creepy and entertaining in the same vein. But I'm very, very excited for this. Okay, let's talk about the young adult. As you guys know, when fall begins to roll around, I really like delving into stories about witchcraft. So I have The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. Now, this is supposed to have very atmospheric fall vibes, very in tune with nature and things like that. Also supposed to have very beautiful writing. But alongside being a very atmospheric fall read, this is a novel that discusses the cost of magic. And so that is what really drew me in with this book. I really like exploring that, not only with witchcraft, but in fantasy as well. So I am looking forward to figuring out what the cost of magic is for our main character in this book. And I love stories about witches. So, and what fall TBR wouldn't be complete without a little dark academia? Now, this is the book I received in my Owlcrate box for August, and it's called A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. Look at those silver sprayed edges. I'm still in love with that. But this is dark academia, and this also revolves around witchcraft. So I'm very excited for that. This has a sapphic romance in it, and I'm excited for that. I really think dark academia and witchcraft combined is the epitome of a fall read. That just screams fall read to me. So again, I'm probably going to say I'm excited for all of these books because I am. But I'm looking forward to this because I did a Is Owlcrate Worth It, which I'll link down below, and where most of the books that I read from Owlcrate were really good. I did end up DNFing one of them, but as far as I'm concerned, Owlcrate has been worth it, and so I'm looking forward to another Owlcrate book. If you guys don't know, I read House of Salt and Sorrows in July, and it was for the Olympic readathon, but I had been looking forward to it for quite some time, and the gothic vibes in that book made me so happy. And so when Aaron A. Craig put out another book, I knew I had to get it. Now, this sounds like it's going to be dealing with the Fae, but again, we have another very atmospheric setting, and we are dealing with creatures in the forest, and so I think that this is going to be another really great atmospheric fall read. And I will say House of Salt and Sorrows is creepy. So if Aaron A. Craig brings the creep factor in this like she did House of Salt and Sorrows, I am going to love this book and promote it every fall. But I'm looking forward to this as well. And next we have another atmospheric YA, and I've heard nothing but good things about this book. It has been a while, and this has been on my TBR for quite some time, but I got it last Christmas and I just haven't read it yet. But that would be Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters. Now, again, creepy, atmospheric YA. And I'm just looking forward to this one. I know that this one has something to do with music and fiddle playing, and that having something to do with the magic that's tied into this story, but that's about it. But creepy, atmospheric, woodsy setting, magic that is bound by music. Yeah, just sounds up my alley. On my current TBR, as far as historical fiction goes, I have one author. So this isn't the only book that I have that's historical fiction that ties to witchcraft, but I do only have this one author currently. If you guys have recommendations for me for historical fiction that falls into the gothic horror realm, let me know. But Paula Braxton's Lamp Black Wolf Gray, I have read The Witch's Daughter by her, loved it. Paula Braxton's writing is absolutely beautiful, and I read the first few pages of that book and was just like, oh my gosh, this writing style. It is so pretty. And I wish I could put words together in that way. That was my whole thought whenever I first read The Witch's Daughter. And so I'm looking forward to reading more by her. And all I happen to know about this one is that the setting is Welsh and that we are dealing with an artist as our main character who is in a relationship that she is not 100% certain she wants to be in. But that's all I know about it. And I'm looking forward to delving into this one. All right, next, let's talk about some books that aren't quite horror, but satisfy that horror vibe. And talk about some thrillers that lean in to the horror elements. First would be The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. Now, I know that this is a detective novel. I know we are trying to solve a mystery, but the thing that makes this lean into the horror elements is that we are dealing with ghosts, or we think we are at least. And I've heard that this has that super creepy atmosphere that a lot of gothic horror has. And that is what makes me lean into this one for the creepy vibes. All right, next we have The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce. And this one is supposed to be gothic thriller. So already gothic in the headline has me very, very excited. But I love isolated thrillers, and this having that isolated thriller aspect to it and having a tagline that says gothic thriller makes me very excited. I know that means it's going to be a slow burn mystery. And now I did happen to see that this has been fairly low rated. There are a lot of people who go into gothic not knowing that that does have a tendency to mean it reads slowly, but only to set that creepy atmosphere in motion the way it's supposed to be. And so I'm very, very excited to get into this one, and it's gonna happen real soon, guys. I might have started reading it by the time this video goes up. Now some just regular thrillers to throw out there. We have a domestic thriller with Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This was my book of the month pick for last month. And the main couple in this is having some marital problems and decides to take a trip to Scotland. And in doing so, secrets are revealed. So I'm looking forward to this. I haven't really liked domestic thrillers in the past, but I do like the idea of playing with them going on vacation and changing up the setting to Scotland. I like those aspects of it, so I think I could like this book. But since this was my book of the month pick, I am going to try and get to this one this month or in October. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm really wanting to know where I land because, like I said, domestic thrillers, I go either way. I either love it or I hate it, and there's no in between. So let's figure out what side I'm going to land on. Next would be a YA sneaking its way in here, but that would be A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I picked this up based on Meg's recommendation, and so I'm looking forward to it. This is told in a mixed media format, and I know that there's a podcast that is being utilized to solve murders, but that's about all I know. And like I said, I don't like knowing much going into a thriller because I want to dig into it and figure out what's happening alongside the main character. Next, we have The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. Heard very good things about this. I know that this is, again, an isolated thriller, and I do like isolated thrillers. This has been compared to Agatha Christie in its writing style, so I'm looking forward to that as well. And again, we have a book that is set in Scotland. It's a Scotland retreat. Is there something about Scotland retreats that says mystery thriller to everyone? I'm not sure, but I'm looking forward to reading this one. And this has been praised pretty much across the board. I know the guest list is actually the one that everyone loves. This was the one I found for $1 at the buy sell trade, so that's the one I bought, but I'm very much looking forward to it. And again, on the isolated thriller front, we have An Unwanted Guest by Sherry Lapina. Sorry about the sticker. I can't get it off without it trying to rip the cover, and so I've just left it there. But this is set in the Catskills Mountains and in a cabin where the electric goes out and people are stranded in the cabin and can't get away, and a murder occurs, or someone dies. They think it's an accident, but as the night progresses, they start to learn that this is a little fishy, and someone is dead, so that means somebody has killed somebody and they don't know who. So looking forward to this one as well. Okay, moving on to our horror books. The first two I'm going to talk about are kind of horror light. Either they are deemed horror, but they read a little lighter than most horror, or not quite deemed horror, yet everyone wants to classify it as horror. But the first of those would be The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Now, I read Good Omens and I didn't like it, and so it kind of put a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth for Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Yet I have been told time and time again that that book is reflective of neither of their actual writing styles, and I should at least give Gaiman a go. A lot of people have told me that I won't like Terry Pratchett, but I've been told time and time again that Gaiman is probably someone that I'm going to enjoy once I get into his actual works. So I'm going to start with The Graveyard Book. And a lot of people have recommended this book to me because they know how much I like horror. And they think that if this is my intro into Gaiman, that I will definitely pick up more after this. So looking forward to this one. Another on the horror light side, we have My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Now, I have read Grady Hendrix in the past. I do like his writing style. I do like that we are dealing with things in a humorous way that allow us to explore very difficult topics, but then given a backdrop of a horror story on top of it. So I really, really like Grady Hendrix's writing style. I do also have Horror Store on Audible, and I'm looking forward to that one too. It's set in IKEA, and I want to get the physical book because the physical book looks like an IKEA catalog. But I'm looking forward to getting into this one. This is probably the one that gets the most praise by Grady Hendrix, so we're dealing with some very 80s themes, if you can't tell by the cover. And this has been compared to Stranger Things in vibe, so I'm looking forward to that. The one that continues to appear on so many TBRs because of who recommended it to me, and the fact I can't seem to actually sit down and read this dang book. But that would be Floating Dragon by Peter Straub. I still need to read it, guys. I still need to read it. All right, and I had such a hard time getting a hold of this book, and I have no idea why. I'm starting to assume that it's because I live in Oklahoma and things just sometimes get shadow banned in like a Barnes and Noble or something like that. Like they just stop ordering it, or they're like, we don't want this on our shelves. And so I couldn't get a hold of it. Like it took me months to actually find a place that actually carried this book. And so I got The Troop by Nick Cutter. This is supposed to be body horror to the max, so if that is not your thing, probably want to avoid it. But I have heard that this book might actually scare me, and we all know I'm always looking for a book that can scare me, but I do know that this has some gross aspects to it. And it also has a Lord of the Flies type aspect to it. And instead of surviving, the people are dying. So it's kind of that trope turned on its head a little bit. But again, we have an isolated thriller. But this one is actually horror. Now, one that I just keep meaning to read because I haven't read it yet, though I've watched the movie multiple times. So I figure that I need to read the book. Would be Bird Box by Josh Mallorman. If you guys don't know what Bird Box is about, like I said, there is a movie. Basically, there is this unknown horror that has shown up in our world and is killing people or turning them crazy. And they've figured out that if you see the creature, that's when things start to go wrong. We are following a woman and her children as they try to run from this creature and find civilization. And in doing so, they have to make sure that their eyes are covered at all times and that they stay as quiet as possible to not attract the attention of this creature that is roaming the world. But they've found a radio, they've made contact with people, and they're trying to get there. So that is the premise of this book. And last but certainly not least, we have the book that I'm scared to tackle, that I really, really am worried about whether or not I'm gonna like it or whether or not I can actually read it, because I am dyslexic, so this is going to be very difficult for me. But that would be House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski, and I don't know. So this is a book where the font changes quite often. We have pictures, we have letters, we have things that are missing words, like, you know, just insane things going on in this book. But I've heard it's so good. I've heard that it is so good. And then we have things like this, like there's no writing except for just a few words. But I think that I will probably enjoy this if I can get into it. And then hopefully, I like this. I do have one more that is on the TBR that is an arc. I have an audio arc of Slewfoot by Brom, and I'm looking very much forward to that. However, I only know that it centers around witchcraft. That's all that I know about it, and that it's written by Brom. So that was pretty much all I needed to know. Witchcraft and Brom. We're going for it. Alright, but that is it for my video today. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!